Hey, everybody, it's Jaret from the Rockstar Dad Show. This week on the program, we talk about issues with ALEXA and eaten remote. Yes, the dog ate the remote. And we catch up with Smith Curry, Nashville, Tennessee. Man, when you hear this guy's resume, you're going to flip out. That's coming up next on the Rockstar Dad Show.
This is a song for my friends Jaret and Gary. They started a podcast and said a theme was necessary. They're just a couple of guys in a band that you know. Some rockstar dads who started a show. So here's the next episode.
Welcome to the Rockstar Dad Show. Oh, my voice went out. Welcome to the Rockstar Dad Show.
You sound like my teenage son, or almost teenage son.
My name's Jaret. Gary is here. This is, of course, everybody's favorite podcast, The Rockstar Dad Show. And gosh, we're just tickled pink to be here. It's the end of summer. You know, I mean, I'm actually not sure if it's the end of the summer, like as far as the season is concerned. That gets confusing, you know, because in this country, we call the time the kids are out of school summer.
Yeah, there's like multiple meanings, right? Kids out of school is summer, and our kids are back in school, so summer's over. Yeah. But also, we live in Texas, so summer goes to like mid-October.
Yeah, that's true. But I wonder when it really ends. Probably like, I mean, you think all the seasons are like a quarter of the year? So like probably sometime around mid-September, something like that, you know?
It's got something like that, yeah.
I don't know. Oh, you know what I could do?
That's what I was working on. I can do what you can do too.
Okay, let's race. Alexa, when does summer end?
In the United States, summer ends on Saturday, September 23rd, which is 32 days away.
Still 32 more days of summer. You know, see what I did there though? I fucking called in. I called in an assistant.
Yeah.
You know, she's a part of the show now. We got to put her in the credits.
You like so threw me for a loop doing that. I was like click, 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 typing away to get the answer. Yeah. And you just went straight for Alexa, which we always just spell her name on the show because we don't want her to chime in. But you actually wanted her to chime in. It threw me for a loop.
It's actually interesting that she answered because quite frankly, a lot of times this one up here misbehaves a lot. And we tend to argue quite a bit. I mean, she mishears me. She just starts in when I didn't say anything close to that word. Spotify never works.
How old was Everett whenever Alexa moved into your house?
I mean, pretty young. I mean, because Jack was still little. Because I remember Kit Baldwin, friend of the show, Kit Baldwin, is the one that told me about it. And the way that he told me about it is just this thing that they kept in their kitchen. And it like helped you make grocery lists and things like that. And then the next thing I know, he had this whole house automated, and you know, it just it becomes part. We have them in every room, as you know.
So was he just like right off the bat, like, "Oh, this thing's cool, I can ask it questions," or did it spook him out?
No, he liked asking it questions and like getting it to fart and you know things like that, and just it was adorable because it learned it. You know. It can't quite understand them, you know, right when they learn to talk. But, you know, by the time he was 2.5, 3, he could tell it to do stuff. And it's pretty much always been music stuff that he's used it for. Well, that and farting.
We've got a video of Mia when she's probably like, you know, 2.5, maybe 2. I don't know. Just figuring out the whole speaking thing. Right. And she's just getting so frustrated because she's yelling at Alexa to play Bubble Guppies, but she, Etta P Bubba Duppy, and like, but she just keeps on over and over and just getting madder and madder and madder.
Just won't do it.
But now, like the past year and a half or so, you know, she's 6 now, so like 4.5 on, she's been creeped out by it. So like she'll ask me to tell it to do something, but she runs and hides whenever I'm talking to it.
That's interesting. Yeah. Maybe when you're not around, Alexa's like saying some fucked up shit, you know, like
I doubt that.
Like I'm going to kill your parents. Hi, Mia. Your parents are dead.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. It got dark quick. We have this thing where, so in our bedroom, we have lamps on either side of the bed. And so those are the bedroom lights. So we say Alexa. That's hard to do when you're tired. bedroom lights off, right? And so but there's this, for the longest time, it would turn hers off and then it would pause for a second and then mine would go off and she would go, okay. And I go, yeah, it took her a minute to walk around the bed. And she was like, no, stop it. Because it creeped her out.
We got some of those in our bedroom. We have some of the the LED lights that they can hook up to Alexa, but there's also a remote and there's all this crazy crap that goes along with it. And they work awesome. They work awesome 95% of the time. But probably once every 8 or 9 months, I'll walk in the room and turn the light switch on and they just start going disco. It's one will come on, the other will come on, then they'll go off. It's really weird.
That is.
And you know how you fix it?
Turn it off?
Yeah, turn it off and turn it back on.
Yeah. That's the way you fix anything, right? I mean,
right.
I like when shit just works. And I don't really understand. I think that's your thing, right? Why doesn't stuff just work all the time? And but we had something happen this weekend, and it has to be in the top 4 most frustrating things that has ever happened. I'm going to preface by telling you what happened, but then I'm going to tell you the results. And I think you're going to sense my frustration. So our dog, our Australian Shepherd, Sammy, is just a little over a year old. And for some reason, she's reverted back to chewing on shit when she's unattended. Now, she has bones that are hers and toys that are hers, specifically hers. I mean, and the other dogs don't even fuck with them. She's a very well taken care of dog. She plenty of time outside and she's just very well cared for. But she's just reverted back to this whole thing where she's just chewing shit up. Well, I know where the remote control is all the time. I'm not going to blame my family for the reason that this happened, but they don't. It's just always in the couch cushions, wrapped up in a blanket, behind
next
the couch
to the refrigerator.
Cushion. Yeah, I mean, it just, and there's a fucking table between the chair and the couch where it's just you have to hold it to turn it off. So it's just sitting it right there seems like the obvious choice. I'm not going to get myself all frustrated over that because I'm sure I do things. I'm saying this as a safety in case my wife listens to this. I'm sure I do things equally as annoying, okay, as that. But when that remote control is missing, it is fucking, it drives me absolutely crazy. And this particular model, you can't put a air tag on it because it has a solar, it charges. It's not like a big fancy one. It just, the Samsung remote, but you don't ever have to put batteries in it because it just draws the light all the time. All right. Anyway, the dog chewed up the remote once last week, but it was still operable. I was supposed to order another one. I fucking didn't. I had people in town. I had country shows all this weekend. That's what's wrong with my voice.
Well, I was going to ask about that. If you're starting to feel bad or just had the big weekend.
Big weekend because basically I don't have in-ears in that band. And so I'm basically yelling over fucking acoustic drums and, and we're all direct. So our instruments are coming out of our monitors too. 2 pretty small places this weekend. So not a lot of house.
I was going to wonder if the 2 places, Dan's and I forget where you were in Wichita Falls, but if they were smoking establishments.
No, but I mean, Wichita Falls used to be, so you never get rid of that. It's like when you walk into a non-smoking casino, it's like I fucking know, But yeah, it's just I always scream my voice out if I have 2 hour-and-a-half shows because again, it's really hard to hear yourself. Anyway, so the dog ate the remote to the point where Casey had to throw it away. Now, if you Google what to do after having a dog eat your remote, it will tell you there's plenty of apps that you can use to do this. My TV apparently is so advanced it only needs 1 button. There's not volume buttons. There's not anything. There's 1 fucking button. I couldn't even find it. Casey found it on accident to even get this goddamn TV on, right? So I'm like, all right, we'll get the TV on, and then we'll get one of these. I already had all these things because I've tried this before, but I'm like, you know what? They have to have come a long way. It's a smart TV. These are called smart TV app remote controls. Plus, Samsung makes all of my appliances are Samsung, and they have a smart home app that I use all the time to control all the lights and all that shit, right?
Yeah.
Even non-branded stuff they can do. And so you can do the remote right in that app. You can use these other apps to fucking control your TV. There's so many things that you can use. Here's the problem. There's no OK button on the fucking television to accept any of the remote control apps or anything. So without the remote, you can't click OK. The button that is provided to you on the Samsung, if you press it, it brings up a menu that you can turn it on, you can do volume, you can change the channel, or you can change the source by holding it down when that is highlighted. That's it. So there's no way to just say, yeah, I would like this to control my TV. And I'm going to tell you, I worked on it for an hour and a half because I was really tired. I got home at 4:30 in the morning. I woke up. I was like, man, Everett's been cooped up. It's hot outside. I'm going to just take him to the movies. So I took him to see The Blue Beetle, which was good. It's a good movie. And then we got back and I'm exhausted, right? So I'm just like, man, I'm just going to sit down. I'm going to wait for Casey to relax. Then we'll watch season 2 of The Bear. And I outsmarted it, but not until after an hour and a half of frustration. Finally, I just made my phone go up on the TV and we watched television from our phones like fucking high school kids.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely did that at a few after parties back in the day, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's just...
I can feel your frustration on that. That's one of those things you're like, it should be super simple, and you work on it and work on it and work on it. And I had one of these situations last night.
Okay, me too. Probably at the same time.
But maybe. So Mia's getting bigger. We've ordered her next step of car seat. So she's got this booster seat now, right?
Yep.
And so she's all excited about it. And she's like, Daddy, can I help you install it? Of course. So last night we waited for the sun to go down for it to cool off a little bit, right? And at this point, like, it's almost bedtime. So instead of doing both of our cars, I'm just going to do Anik's car because Anik's going to take her to school in the morning and we'll do the other one later. And so Mia and I go out to Anik's car, and the back of her car is just loaded with crap, right? Yeah. And, installing a car seat in my mind, like, this is going to take 5 minutes, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I get to the back of her car and it's full of all this crap. All right. So I unload all the back of the crap in the car. And, the seat that she has in there has one of those latch systems, right? So it goes over the seat and it latches on this thing in the back. And the way her seat's down, the back seat's down, I can't get my hand in there. So I go in, I'm like, hey, Anik, I can't figure out how to open the back row of seats. And she's like, I don't have a back row of seats. Oh, okay. So I go back out to this car and I'm trying to figure out how to get my hand in this tiny area because they've designed the car to where like the hatchback in this Honda Pilot, like there's like the trunk, if you will, but then it goes down lower than that to behind the seat. And that's where the latch is. So like it's a good 10 inches in this tiny little crack area that I've got to squeeze my hand in to undo the latch. Okay. And that takes for frickin' ever.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
I finally get it unlatched. I get the seat out. We're putting in the second seat. And I'm just fiddling with it and I'm cussing. I can't see. I've got my iPhone flashlight to see where I'm going. And it falls down in this area. And I can't, there's no way to get it out. I mean, I have to go get tools now to get this thing out. And anyways, it takes me 45 minutes to finally get this seat in. And I got it in. I did. But this 5-minute project took 45 minutes. And by the time I came in, I was like, we need to sell this piece of shit car. I'm done with it.
I thought you were going to tell me that at the end of it all, you discovered there was a third row of seats.
No, there wasn't. But it just how this thing's designed, it makes no goddamn sense.
I know.
And I don't ever want to install or uninstall a car seat in that thing again.
I'm telling you, people think that shit's easy. New dads, when they tell you to go have that first one installed, like at a place or whatever, fucking take them up on it. Because I know you all think you're a genius in all of this, and you will figure it out eventually. But your first time, and especially that latch system, like trying to get that. When you see how they do it, you're like, oh, like because you essentially get in it. You put your knee up in that motherfucker and push it down as far as it'll go, and then you pull up. It's like because if you just do it by just arm strength, it'll wiggle till the cows come home, right? But you have to get that fucker where it won't even start. But you
have to put your whole body weight into
your
it
while you're tightening it, and
you can watch the videos of them like installing the brand seat that you bought, and it's just first off, it's a fake car because there's like so much room in this back seat that the person's maneuvering around. But it's like some just a mom, and she's like pulling it a little. All right, it's tight. That's not how that.
No, that is not how it works at all. It is super frustrating. We should give this advice all the time. Also, new dads, do not put the crib together in front of the TV thinking you're going to wheel it into their room.
It doesn't fit through the door.
It does not fit through the door. And that is a mistake many new dads make. You too, moms, if you're listening. I didn't mean to. That just usually ends up being like a dad project. The mom's painting and doing all this other shit. And,
for me as crib, I didn't do that. But whenever we were taking her crib down, I'd forgotten that, and so like I'd moved all her furniture. And then I was pushing this crib out, and I was like, oh, shit, it doesn't fit through the door. Yeah. And so then I had to move all the furniture back, so I had an area to, like, dismantle it.
We had Everett's crib came to my house, and then that got set up, and then we took it down, moved it into the apartment before we got this house, in between, as you know, being our realtor. And then in that apartment, I was like, I'm not doing this again. He's getting a big boy bed. And so we just fucking left it there and gave a relative of hers the key. We're just like, go get it, man.
Yeah, it's yours if you want it.
Yeah, I am not taking that fucking thing apart and putting it back. That thing had seen its better days. All right, hey, we got to take a break. We will be right back with more Rockstar Dad Show in just a little bit. Now, coming up, Smith Curry, who is this insane dobro and pedal steel player that you have heard on 100 songs, whether you know it or not. It's actually unbelievable when we start talking about it. We pre-recorded the interview, and I just kept going back to the resume. Like it's all I could do. Like,
yeah, it's insanely long.
It's just crazy. We'll be right back. Y'all listen to this. Welcome back to the Rockstar Dad Show right here on Adobe Radio. We're on every single Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And then on your favorite podcatcher, you just call them podcast apps now, Gary. I need to fix that in my little rant.
Is it because podcatcher is a little too inside baseball?
I don't know. Is that why? Oh, because
I only hear like industry people say podcatcher.
Yeah, I get that. Like, it's funny because I don't have satellite radio in the new van. And I've been meaning to do it, but I have an old account that was in Casey's old car, and I need to turn that off too. Gosh darn it, I got shit to do that's just getting away from me.
You're gonna have to make a list, man.
I gotta make a list, But anyway, so sometimes I just listen to the radio, and everybody loves that station, The Ticket, and we know all those guys, all really good friends of the show. And in fact, we should get a couple of them on here. But I do like their bits, but when they talk sports, as we talked about last week, I'm just so lost now. I just don't. I mean, I know how to play. I know the rules to everything, but I just don't know any of the players anymore. And it's hard for me to be entertained by it.
There's kind of a interesting sports arc, if you will. Like as a kid, I knew everybody who played on every team and their stats because we had trading cards and this and that, right?
Yeah.
And then I stopped paying attention. Whenever I knew that, like I didn't understand all the rules and strategy of the sports, right? But then I got older and you start getting into the sport, but I didn't know all the player stats and stuff, but I knew this player's good, right? But then you get older and you're like, I'm starting to be like the same age as all these dudes. That's weird. Yeah. And then now we're both like way older than everyone that plays sports, and I don't know who any of them are.
No, not even a one. I mean, like I was saying the other day, I know Luka on the Mavericks. And then, I'm so far out of touch that when I hear somebody I know, I go, they're still playing? I can't believe what Russell Maryland is still in the NBA. That's insane. I can't believe that. I had a good weekend this weekend. It's funny. Our hometown of Wichita Falls, we both had good childhoods and lots of good memories there. But, it's kind of one of those things where I think once we were ready to get out of there, I was ready to get out of there. And I've been thinking about it a lot. Like I've been thinking about that whole hometown thing. And I sort of got to this weird point where it's very strange that became a thing with us. And here's why. That is a whole thing in the whole pop punk community. Like all bands have this thing about getting out of their hometown, but we didn't hear that. That's something that just became like we so evolved into this, I guess, because it was all happening, at the same time.
Yeah.
That here we are, like, had this sort of weird angstiness about, our hometown and getting out of there and going and seeing the world and all this shit. And little did we know that the other bands in our genre were going to kind of do the same thing, except for Less Than Jake, who love where they're from,
Yeah.
But anyway, I went back this weekend. I did 2 shows. I played, as most people know, when we left there, the band went to Denton, and Denton quickly embraced our band. And we've called Denton the home of Bowling for Soup since then. We were proud of the fact that we grew up in Wichita Falls, but moved down to Denton, and that's really where things started to happen for our band. And a few things hit me this weekend. I sold out a club that we played a few times. Bowling for Soup never had a sold out show in Wichita Falls one time.
Huh.
Not once. And I fucking sold it out this weekend. And I was just like, if that doesn't sort of say something about, I don't know, just sort of why we were so quick to get out. I mean, like, we just did not have a fan base there, and it's really cool that people were coming around. There's a lot of people from my high school and a lot of people that I played in bands with, and a lot of mutual friends of yours and mine. And it was a really good weekend. But I also played Denton, and that was cool as well. A lot of new faces, a lot of people that I had never met before, which I thought was cool. Denton is kind of like a, since it's a college town, it's kind of like a college sports team. Like none of the players are there anymore, but some of them become coaches.
Denton, to me, Denton's kind of like, the second hometown, and it's also a little bit kind of like Wichita Falls, because I lived in Wichita Falls till I went to college. I went to college in Denton and then moved away, I don't know, in like 2003, probably. Yeah, 2004, somewhere around there. So I haven't lived in Denton for 20 years.
20 years.
But it's one of those deals. But I can go back to either town and it's like, oh, here's where this happened. Here's where this happened.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the town's changed so much.
Yeah, it definitely changes a lot. It's I feel like Denton goes through more, but I think with Wichita Falls, I don't really go to the places where it's growing because it's on like the whole other side of the city from where you enter in if you come from here. You know what I mean? Like it's all on like that west side, I guess. But either way, I had a good weekend, and I was really happy. I called the shows My Hometown with a little S written at the end. And, it was a good weekend. I got to see a lot of good friends. I did not get to experience any of the Wichita Falls cuisine, which I was bummed about.
That's like a huge shame.
I know.
That's horrible.
What's the red taco place? Casa Manana?
Casa Manana. Yeah.
Casa Manana was closed. It closed like 15 minutes after sound check, so they weren't serving anymore. And they don't give a shit. They've been there 140 years. If you walk in there, and they're just like, yeah, we're just not going to make anything else, And but yeah, we didn't really. I made the mistake of getting a snack on the way, and I wasn't hungry, but we had a really good time. It was fun. But I thought of you a lot because as we're going through the town, we just I'm pointing out shit, as you said, oh, this is where this happened. This is where this happened. We used to do this here. We used to do this here. And I was just thinking about some of the shows that we played, even when you were still in Gary and the Wiseman, and some of those, like an old carpet store one time, we just threw a show, and your singer, John, punched the ceiling, and we were like, oh shit, now what? There's going to be a huge fine.
Yeah.
It was good though. Good stuff.
That's weird. I don't remember the carpet store.
Yeah, it was just like an old warehouse. Like a showroom that was empty. And I don't remember how it happened. I feel like somebody threw the show, but
sure.
I saw Darla Diltz, your buddy Zach's sister, and James Cook opened up for us, and Justin Smith of the band Big Lou was there, and it was fun. It's a good time.
So did y'all just play the show and then hang out for a little bit and hit the road and head home?
Yeah, Dave does the thing now. Like I tell him to. I'm like, listen, the bar's going to stay open until 2, but you guys are going to be loaded and ready at 1. Just fucking make me leave, because if you don't, I'm going to stand there and talk the whole time. So he does. He just comes up and he's just like, there's no bus for me to go to, right? So like I walk off stage and I'm just like, all right, let's fucking fuck shit up, and and so they get everything loaded, and he comes up to me. He's like, time to go.
He texts me that they're having some spicy margarita special, and he's like, if you were here, Wyatt would be driving home.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was.
How's your walking off stage and mingling? How's that working with your I don't take shots policy?
I have been doing really good. I have had a shot or two at both shows. This one, Wichita Falls, actually, I did a Jameson on stage because Keith, our drummer, drinks Jameson. And so I started talking about Jameson, and so they just brought us a tray of it. And I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. And Rob declined. But then right after the show, somebody comes up and hands me a kamikaze. And I'm just like, son of a bitch. But I did it. And but I do try and tell people, like, please don't buy me shots. If you want to buy me something, buy me a Miller Lite.
Yeah.
But luckily, like I said, we got out of there pretty quick, and the ride home super fast and stuff. So I didn't feel too shitty yesterday. Just worn out, man. I mean, that van, it's just different, man. It's 9 years of it when we were younger and in much better shape, and it's just hard. It's hard on the body, man. That we all. I mean, even the young guys. I say young guys. I mean, they're all in their mid-30s, but even they're hurting. And so I just kind of exclamate that to like where I'm at 51. And not in the best shape of my life. But man, couple of days in that fucker, and you're just like, oh, I can't move. So yesterday I was sore as shit, but it was cool. It was a fun time.
That makes perfect sense. We used to travel the world in a van. I mean, we spent 90% of our time in a van year round, right?
Yeah,
we did 300 shows in a year in a van.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just fun. Like, we were young enough, and it's like, oh, great, let's go do this, right? And now, even there's certain buses we get that, we're a weekend in the bus, and it's like, oh man, I'm fucking sore as shit from this bus.
Like from where the TV sits in the front, like you have a crick in your neck, like it's just it's bad. But our van though, the especially the last 2 Bowling Pursuit vans where we had the bench seats, at least 1 or 2 people could spread out every once in a while. They don't really even make those anymore that I've seen. It's all seats, and I guess it's the seatbelt thing. But they're all, like an airplane seat, basically. And they're not uncomfortable in any way. It's just not the same. Like, you can't turn sideways and put your fucking knee up in the seat. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing, But anyway, we survived. And you've been in it. You've been in Rick. Rick is the name of the van. And so Bowling for Soup uses it when we have a local thing or just a quick little jaunt, and we have a lot of fun. Man, I'm excited about this next interview coming up. We have Smith Curry. As I said earlier, I started going down his list of songs, but there's like a highlight on his website, and he played on this song by Billy Currington called Good Directions. And I'm probably going to end up bringing that up first on the interview. Oh yeah, wait, cat's out of the bag. We pre-recorded this. I'd bring it up first in the interview because it really is like our go-to family song. When everybody sings, and there's a bunch of those that we have, but that one, me and Emma really got to liking that one. And this is a really cool dude. He's been around the world. He's seen it all. And y'all are gonna like this. It's gonna be fun. Smith Curry coming up after the break. You're listening to the Rockstar Dad Show. Y'all listen to this. Welcome back to the Rockstar Dad Show. As we said earlier in the program, Gary, we have never in the history of, I don't even know if I've ever met anyone with a resume quite like our next guest.
Yeah, it's pretty extensive.
It's something else. Smith Curry is here. And Smith, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Nashville's been kind of surviving the heat wave that the rest of the country's had brutally. It's been a little cooler and wetter, strangely, lately. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's what a weird time it is right now, weather-wise. But I mean, we did a summer tour last year, and usually when we're up in the Northeast, it's a little bit of a break from the heat, and it was not.
Yeah.
It was, and when it's hot in places that it's not supposed to be hot, they're not prepared for it. So places aren't air conditioned, and it can get a little.
Yeah, I recently came out of road retirement for a few shows out west, just like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. This guy Steven Wilson Jr., who's a really cool artist. I had heard good things about him, and usually just a chance to get out of the Nashville summer, sweltering. And get out west. It was Montana, Wyoming, and then 2 in Oregon. So I was pretty excited. I'm from the West Coast originally, and it was a good opportunity. And playing with him was really freaking cool. We did one show where it was a 4-piece band, and then the others was just me and him. And he has a nylon string guitar going through a pretty extensive pedal board, and he can make a real racket with that thing. So some of it's kind of like real thrash, and he has me on lap steel with all the pedals on, just like somebody came up afterwards and asked what kind of reverb pedal that was. And I was like, dude, it's 3 reverb pedals, and 2 are on almost the whole time.
Yeah.
So it was pretty fun.
Making some noise, man, and
it's like thrash Nirvana country with this big country vocal and super cool song. So if you get a chance, Steven Wilson Jr.
You said that you were coming out of road retirement. How long had you not been on the road?
It's been at least 15 years since I've done anything regular.
Wow.
I love filling in from time to time. It's good to get out of town and get a break from the studios, and also good to be reminded why I don't want to do that full time anymore at my age. So, which is 56 right now. I don't know if I should be broadcasting that, but
it's a good thing about age, and especially in country music, is it just doesn't matter anymore. Nobody cares.
And my main instrument being pedal steel. The old guys are the ones who rule for the longest time in the studios, it was just by age. Like the guy who was 70 in his early 70s was the busiest. Then the next guy, second busiest, was like in his late 60s. I mean, it was down,
that true
basic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, before we even start, I have to say that it's the craziest shit. I love when stuff like this happens, where things that make me cool to my children, because Phineas and Ferb didn't do it, and Chuck E. Cheese didn't do it, and all these other things that I do in my life didn't do it. But the fact that you played on our family's favorite song in the world, Good Directions by Billy Currington, is our favorite family song. we put that on, and it's all 5 members of the family just singing at the top of our lungs. Man, I mean, what a song! What did you do on that song?
I played the dobro on that, and it came together really quickly. I just kind of popped out that intro, which has become pretty iconic, I guess. I don't want to be bragging on my
No,
own
it's
self,
okay
but
to say that.
yeah. And so it was kind of one of those crazy things where I've played on other number ones and other big songs, but it's like a great song. I managed to have a really good part, and then I was super hot in the mix. I mean, when I first heard it on the radio, I was like kind of almost like holding my breath till the end of the song, hoping I sounded okay because it was so hot in the mix. It's kind of like right up there with the vocal. And then sung by a great singer. And then, of course, it was, the biggest country song of 2008. So it's a lot of things that have to line up to have something like that.
For sure.
I saw Billy last week, Billy Currington, the artist on that, in the airport in Montana when I was out just randomly.
Nice. I mean, were you guys in the room together? Because I know a lot of times, and I'm sure most of the sessions that you do, right? You're in there either with just you and a producer, or you and the other guys doing it live or whatever. I mean,
that was a tracking day, so it was all the session players and then Billy and the producer Carson Chamberlain, and it went pretty quick. And we did maybe 3 or 4 songs that day, and I ran into Billy randomly twice over the next few months, and I was like, dude, Good Directions is the song. He's like, I know, I love it, but the label hates it. I was like, dude, that's the song. That's the song. And he fought them to release it, and they released it, and they didn't really promote it well, and it was languishing down in the 50s on the charts, with nothing really happening with it, and the label was about to pull the song, and all of a sudden it took off, and kind of the rest is history. So you just never know that stuff.
Like that. I love it, man. I mean, that's again, I love it because that it just goes to show you. I mean, a hit's a hit. They don't grow on trees, and
yeah,
that's. I mean, just going over all the artists, and I'm sure this gets a little boring, but I mean, obviously the biggest artist in the world right now is Taylor Swift. You've done a lot of stuff with her. You got to be seeing that show out there on the road right now. And I imagine that would be a pretty fun tour to be on if you were on that.
I have 3 really good friends in that band, and they've been there a long time, and she treats them really well. They love her. But yeah, that tour is just a juggernaut. I've just been kind of seeing, the press about it and stuff. And actually, the night that she was playing in Nashville at the stadium, I had to play downtown for a little showcase for an artist that I'm producing. And we were down there when it started to rain, and then thunder, and then lightning in the afternoon. All the girls out there standing in line with their, pink outfits on and stuff getting soaked. And I thought, oh, that's just kind of a bummer. These people have waited for so long, and for Taylor, big hometown show. And I don't know if you saw what happened. It was like they kept postponing until finally she went on hours late and played in the rain till like 2 a.m. or something. And it just made her even that much more of a legend,
Yeah, that makes her more of a legend. And also for the people that go to that kind of show, like whenever they're sitting there and it's postponed and they're in the rain, it sucks. But then they make it to the show, and it's like even a better story, and they'll remember it forever.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
You were there when that happened is just because that show's going to go down in history. Gary, I just realized that he actually also worked with a very good friend of ours, Natalie from Runaway June, and Natalie Stovall. Natalie Stovall is a really good friend of ours, and she's the face of the Grand Ole Opry now. And
it's nuts. I was there during CMA week, just hanging out backstage with friends, and ran into her again. And it's cool how she's gotten to do that.
Yeah, she's such a sweetheart. Well, all right. So we've and again, guys, just go to smithcurry.com and you can see the list, because it's Merle Haggard, Dolly Parton, it's Randy Travis, it's all the greats. And I mean, just what a cool thing. But let's go back, because I believe you're how old are your kids now?
So I have a 34-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Right. Yeah. That's
bit
what
of
I
a
thought.
gap there.
Yeah, but I've seen pictures of the three of you guys together, and it's adorable and great. And so I assume, when your 34-year-old was born, it was starving artist days. What was life like when you became a dad?
You know,
Did we lose him?
I think we may have lost him.
I think I got better service.
Okay, your voice is coming back. Oh, are you there? There he is.
Let me try again.
Uh-oh.
I'm not seeing you guys. Sorry.
We can see you. We can see
Hopefully
you. Can you
guys
hear
are
us?
getting me.
Hello, hello. Yep, we
Okay.
got you.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I tried
No,
using the tethering the phone, but it made it worse. So yeah, I was young and it was an accident, and it was just something my girlfriend at the time said, this is something I want to do, and you don't have to be involved, and I'm just going to do it. And I wanted to be involved, but I recently started playing a lot of bluegrass, and a lot of these guys I was playing with were amazing, and I was like shocked that they weren't doing it professionally, and they were, well, I got a family to support, and so I was kind of horrified at derailing my career.
Mhm.
And she was like, well, and then I was pretty involved early on, and then she moved away and was always living out of state in some weird place with some weird guy or whatever, and so it made it pretty hard early on to
Mhm.
be really involved.
Yeah.
And I was maybe a little too eager to go, okay, well, if she's going to make it that hard, then whatever. But
Sure.
later on, I guess maybe 7 or 8 years ago, Evan moved out to Asheville, North Carolina, which is only 5 hours away.
Yeah.
And he was going through a rough patch, and I was able to give him a lot of help when nobody else was there for him. And so that brought us a lot closer together.
Good.
But periodically through the years, he's come out to my shows when I've been out west or, near wherever he was living. And it's been pretty fun. Was back in my own old stomping grounds, the Bay Area, and we were playing the, what is the Shoreline Amphitheater, that big iconic shed there. I was out with the opening act on the Brooks and Dunn Neon Circus tour.
Wow.
And they would have, as part of the Neon Circus, they would have guys in rodeo clown outfits, like jugglers and guys doing stuff. And my side job was to carry a giant boa constrictor around through the crowd. I've just kind of I've had snakes through the years, and I was already on the tour making pretty good money with this new artist. And I just heard they might be looking for somebody. I was like, hey, so, I mean, double my pay, and then good way to meet ladies is going through the crowd with an 8-foot boa constrictor. So um so
No fun.
Evan was able to come out to that show. I think he was probably about 10 or something, and he got to see the spectacle and all that, so that was
Yeah.
really fun.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he probably were sort of this figure in his mind, that he talked about at school. My dad is a rock star and out there doing this and that and kind of thing. But I mean, just
Yeah.
the magic of that father-son relationship is when it comes back around and you're able to reconnect, and I'm so glad you guys have a good relationship now. That's awesome.
Oh, it's amazing. He's such a good dude, and I'm so proud of him. His life is in such a great place right now, and
Love that.
he's crushing it with his career and all that. And we're both rock climbers. I do a lot of rock climbing and mountaineering and stuff, and he's a really strong rock climber. So that's been fun to go out and climb together.
Right. Is that about what is it about rock climbing? Is it the rush? Is it the almost the meditation of all of it, or is it all of it rolled up into one?
It's all of it rolled up into one, for sure. Just being out in nature, just getting good at something. And then, yeah, it can be really exciting at times, almost falling or falling and not getting hurt, or,
Yeah.
fill in the blank. And then I've been able to, kind of tack that stuff onto the end of tours pretty frequently. So that one that I just did out west, just for several shows, I was able to stay on and do some climbing in the Pacific Northwest. I went and did a kind of a solo jaunt up El Dorado Peak in North Cascades National Park. So that was really
Nice.
fun.
That's
Yeah.
cool. I guess that's kind of a different deal since you hadn't been on the road for a while and then you got to go do this for fun. Usually, like whenever we're on the road, whenever the tour's over, we want to get home. But like, he's gotten done it for a while. You wanted to do some.
No, so since my 8-year-old was born, climbing trips are kind of a hard sell, understandably, with the wife. So hey, honey, I'm going to be gone for 10 days and not make a bunch of money. We need and risk my life on a big frozen mountain while you're stuck here dealing with everything and raising the kid by yourself. But if I'm already out there, like she's not going to say no. So,
Yeah,
it's been pretty regular. I kind of keep getting asked just to do a one-off or a week of shows out west in the summer, and I stay on and do something cool while I'm out there.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, was that a factor in it? So as we continue into fatherhood and getting a second chance to do it, obviously, you mentioned your wife and what's your youngest name?
Echo.
Echo is boy or girl?
Yeah, boy. So
a boy.
sons.
So your boy Echo and Evan. That's pretty kick ass, actually.
Yeah.
Echo. And so Echo is 10, and so was part of the retirement from touring, becoming a dad again.
Yeah, definitely that. And just you guys know road life. If it's your band or something, that's pretty amazing, and your music and probably doing really well financially when you're out there. Being a sideman for Nashville acts is a little bit of a mixed bag, playing the same songs every night. It's not great for your musicianship. Sometimes, like I was with the opening act on the Tim McGraw tour in 2008, and we played 19 minutes a day. That was like it for music. I mean, that drove me crazy.
I'm sure, yeah.
And just kind of crushing your musicianship, your chops, all that. But yeah, definitely. I remember when Echo was just a couple of months old, seeing on social media friends going, who had youngsters about the same age going, oh, I'm going to be gone for the next 3 weeks. I hate not seeing my kid. And I thought, oh man, I couldn't imagine at that age not seeing him for that long.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you think about. Like, I mean, we haven't really had. I don't know that we've ever had like a guy who goes out and tours as a side guy on the show. It's not really anything that I've ever really put together in my mind or thought about, of you going out there and playing somebody else's stuff, somebody else kind of getting the hype of what it is you guys are doing, but also, like, especially the bigger the tour, the shorter your set, especially if you're not the headliner. We went and saw Luke Combs the other day, and he's got 5 opening acts, and the first band is out there 15 minutes, and then the second out there 20, and there's very few people actually in their seats and all of that, but you're playing a stadium, and it's like, it's like what is it, Lainey Wilson that said, it's not the people in the seats, it's getting yourself into the arena.
Yeah,
it makes a little sense, but I mean, I could imagine that your days are longer because you're not doing press, and
yeah, there's a lot of downtime, good reading opportunities. I did a lot of touring before cell phones were much of a thing, or staying in touch with people online or whatever. So
calling cards.
It's gotten a lot easier with mobile devices and internet and all that.
Well, that certainly makes fatherhood. That's two very different juxtapositions as well, of you trying to be a dad 34 years ago and be on the road and just even trying to be visible anymore. I mean, it's near impossible back then, I mean, especially, and now, especially with a 10-year-old, Gary has a 12-year-old, and they literally text all day. It's like they're never apart, and it's, technology is it can be a pretty great thing as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you party back in the day? Are you still a partier?
I don't party as much, but yeah, I mean, I toured with Kid Rock back when he was really really big, you know,
Yeah.
in the 2003, 2004. And I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it was, you know, I probably shouldn't say too much, but yeah, I mean, just whatever you can imagine, then multiply that times 10, you know.
We're aware.
Um,
We're aware. We played a show in Detroit, and we're good friends with Uncle Cracker, Matt. And
yeah, Matt.
actually, Matt sang on my country record, actually, that just came out. And so we played a show in Detroit with them and with Uncle Cracker, actually. And because it was a radio show. It's back when his song Happy was doing really well, and we had a song out. And they were like, after the show, do you guys want to go to Bob's house? And we're like, who the fuck is Bob? And they're like, oh, yeah, it's Kid Rock. And we're looking at each other like, do we want to go to Kid Rock's house? And it's like we had a 5:30 a.m. lobby call for a show that we had to make it to in order to be able to even eat that month. You know, it's like Alexandria, Louisiana or something, like horrible travel day. And needless to say, we made it to the airport and got on our flight. But as we're almost nearing our gate, we see them. They all look like just fucking like they're all about to die. And they're like, yeah, we missed our flight. We're not going to be able to make where we're going. And we had to cancel the show. And we knew the PD for the station. And this is one of those things that's, you know, we're not going to snitch. But he's like, hey, man, how are they feeling? I heard they all got really sick and like they got the flu going through their camp. And I'm like, yeah, man, they didn't look good.
Yeah, those guys are pretty hardy. I'm surprised. I mean, I could stay up one night. And a couple of those guys, and Bob included, could stay up 2 or 3 nights in a row. I'm like, oof, I'm out. But yeah, if anyone says they're good friends with Kid, you know they're full of shit because he's always Bob. Right,
yeah,
Bob Dever. But that studio building and complex that he has, it's probably where you partied. I stayed up there for a few weeks prior to the first tour, and all kinds of crazy people would come by. You never knew who you were going to run into there. It was pretty fun. I remember one morning I was actually sleeping there, and one morning I went up to the main floor and I was making coffee in my boxer shorts, and Bob comes in with a couple of these big old dudes, and he's like, hey, Smith, this is D from Run DMC. And I'm standing there with my underwear with a coffee pot in my hand, shaking his hand like, hey, good to meet you.
Yeah. Oh, man. As I'm looking at the as I'm looking through again, just when I go back through your resume and just the people, I recently saw Radney Foster do a solo show. And what a talented fucking guy. You know,
man, he's so cool. He's so cool. I met him. My second road gig, I want to say late 90s, was the Kinleys, and these two blonde identical twins who are great singers. He produced their second album or co-produced it or something, and so I got to know him a little bit then. But I'll just run into him from time to time. And then me and my friend Sam Hunter have been we've taken a bit of a break from it. Been putting on the Smith and Sam extravaganza where we kind of have a house band and Sam does some of his songs and we start getting people up. And we had one of the last ones we did was Radney and gosh, I can't remember who all, but yeah, we've been really fortunate having some really great folks on that. And Radney's a good sport.
I'm not sure if you've experienced like his he does this show and then he takes a minute and he reads sections of his book, and
I haven't seen that.
When he started to do it, I was like, oh god, here we go. Like he had played a couple of songs and I was like, oh my god, this is fucking great. And it's a really, really small place in southern Oklahoma, and then he just reads excerpts from his novel, and I was mesmerized. Like that guy he's more riveting, if you can imagine, as like a spoken word guy than he is as a singer songwriter. Wow. I mean, it was just unbelievable. But as far as like being in the studio and stuff, do you have? I realize this is such a softball question, and you probably fucking hate it. But like, just any like your mind being blown, or just an amazing studio experience, or someone walking in, you couldn't believe you were standing there in front of them.
Well, so being mostly pedal steel, dobro, lap steel, those kind of things, a lot of the time I'm overdubbing and the artist isn't there, and that can really be a bummer. I've played on 3 different things that Dolly Parton, 3 different projects for Dolly Parton, still haven't met her. So it's like, come on, man. So that can happen a lot. I got asked the most soul crushing of those was I got played on the Roger Miller tribute record, and aside from that was a Dolly and Alison Krauss track, and then the other track they sent the guys home and it was just me overdubbing, and it was Willie, Merle, and Chris Christopherson, and of course none of them were there. I was like,
Good Lord.
But it was still such an honor. Obviously, I'm not complaining, but
you have played on you never played with Waylon, right? So you never played on
no, never got to.
Because my Mount Rushmore of country is Willie, Dolly Parton, Waylon Jennings, and Johnny Cash. So you've done half my
yeah. Got to see a little bit of Waylon. We were out playing that Farewell Festival near Bend, Oregon last week, and Willie was the headliner, and so got to see him from afar. It was fun though. We were out there. We played it with Steven Wilson Jr. the first day, and his manager also manages this guy Luke Grimes. He's an actor on that Yellowstone show, and he has some country music out. And his steel player couldn't get there in time, so they gave me a stack of charts, and we ran through stuff. And I filled in that day on the main stage with this guy, just having heard the music for the first time a couple hours before. So
you played with Luke Grimes.
Yeah, just last week I filled in with him. Yeah,
you could say that to any chick in the world. It would just be like, what?
Totally. Yes. I know. I got like 3 different selfies with him because I was like, women kept going, friends of mine in my life kept going, oh my God. So
that is like, I'm pretty sure that's my wife's free pass now. I'm not sure if it changed, but I'm almost positive like that dude is it. But so
I've never seen people react that way to somebody. I mean, I don't know. That must be weird going through life that way, you know.
Oh, I mean, it's the biggest show in the world, and he's the character. You know, it's like it's a Kevin Costner show, but he totally steals it. And women, man, they love it. So, is Echo back in school now?
Since the pandemic, he's been homeschooled. So he's about to turn 9 in a few weeks, in exactly 1 month. So September 9th. So that's, you know, it's fun having him around. He's in a bunch of homeschooling programs around town. So he gets around a lot of kids, but I'll be down here in my studio working, and he'll like, hey Pop, can you come up? Or he'll come down and hang out and watch me for a bit. And so it is nice to be around him more, you know?
Yeah. It's a good thing. It's hard. It's like, you know, sometimes they want you to come watch Minecraft or whatever, and you're just like,
we are about to do Minecraft after this. Actually,
I love it.
We bought that's funny. We've got a second copy of Minecraft Legends, and he wants me to play online with him. So yeah.
So if you can figure it out, please send me pointers, because
it's crazy complicated, and the way he does it with his friends, like on like FaceTime and stuff, it's pretty social. So we try to limit his screen time and stuff, but if he's going to be on a screen doing it with a friend and playing Minecraft is about as good as it gets. You know?
Yeah, that's kind of the crazy thing in this day and age is there. Like, I don't want my kid playing video games all the time either, but like that's his social life. A lot of the times he plays sports and he sees kids at sports, but other than that, it's playing video games online with friends. So it's a weird deal.
Yeah, it is.
And especially during the summer. I mean, you know, I remember, you know, we all say we were outside or whatever, but you know, I mean, like if somebody had an Atari or an Odyssey or a ColecoVision, we'd go in their house and sit there and take turns playing and, you know, getting out of the sun. And it's you know, it's not that different, but you know, it just bums me out that they don't get on bikes and go dig holes and shit. You know, like I just feel like that was such a good part of growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're always trying to find the balance, and you know, you know, he's such a good kid, but that's a source of friction for sure, trying to get him off the screen and outside.
It's every house though. It's so funny. It's like, you know, you talk about like marriage or whatever. And if you're a dude, you're just like, yeah, she says I don't communicate or whatever. And every other dude goes, yeah, you're a fucking dude. You know, none of us do. And all of us talk about our kids, and it's like, yeah, my kid, it takes 30 minutes to get him to go to bed every night. And they're like, yeah, us too. And it's like, we're trying to limit screen time. Yeah, us too. You know, it's like, it's all the same, I think.
Well, I think Gary Vee has a thing too, where he's talking about, people ask about limiting screen time for his kids and whatnot. And he's like, that's the generation. So if I'm not letting them do this stuff, then they're behind what everyone else in their generation is doing.
We talked about that. You brought that to my attention, and I sort of was like, you know, it's funny because they have to know all that shit. You know, it's Smith. I would assume, like, you know, your kid being young as well, and, you know, us, me and you are in our 50s or whatever. But I'm pretty technical. You know, because of what we do, I'm pretty technically savvy. Like I'm good with computers and all of that shit, and I'm pretty good with it. But Minecraft is a really good example. It's weird. It's like kids that are that age, like my 10-year-old and Gary's 12-year-old and Echo. It's like they come out knowing how to use an iPad. Like they just instantly can start swiping their fingers and doing stuff, and you're like, how did you even do that? You know,
I mean, you put your finger on it exactly. I feel like I'm pretty technologically, you know, adept, and you know, I get a new plug-in, I can figure out how to work it pretty quick. But any new kind of technology comes in the house, he's at the front of, you know, he's ahead of me in seconds with learning how to use it. So
he tells me, my kid tells me shit that you can do on your iPhone now, and I'm just like, wait a minute, I'm the iPhone guy. You know, like people come to me and ask me stuff about this thing. Like that's my thing. In my life, people like, hey, I got this problem with my Mac. They come to me, and now my son is just fucking teaching me shit, and I'm just like, this aggression will not stand.
And actually, to go the other direction with it, my dad was an early adopter with home PCs, and he's an aeronautical engineer with 5 college degrees, and
wow.
I mean, a literal rocket scientist that worked on some of the Mariner spacecraft at the Jet Propulsion Lab and stuff. But I had him a number of years ago. He's at my house, and I was showing him how to play Portal on my PC. And it was kind of painful to watch. It's like, dude, you've written programming languages before and you're having trouble with this. It's just, I don't know.
Let's rewind that for a minute. Let's rewind that. So whenever you were growing up and you told your rocket scientist dad, hey, I'm going to grow up and be a musician, how'd that go?
They were always like, we're kind of supportive, but we want you to have a backup plan. And, you know, so that I stayed in school and for a couple of years of college off and on until I finally pulled the plug. But he's a big bluegrass aficionado. So when I started getting into bluegrass dobro, which actually led me to move to Nashville in the mid-90s, he was pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think probably too, just seeing you shine, you know, and being as good as you were at that instrument. And what do you play, like what, 6 instruments or something? I mean, I know people ask me that all the time, and it's like, it's relative.
I try to keep it with strings. I've been playing a bunch of guitar more lately. Again, it feels fun. That's was kind of what I started on, and then it kind of led to Bottleneck, like Robert Johnson Delta blues stuff. And then I saw Jerry Douglas playing at a festival, that one they have near Yosemite, the Strawberry Festival, when I was about 20 or 21, and that completely, you know. And then so that led me to that led me to dobro, and then moved to Nashville and started playing pedal steel. So
man, dude, this has been so great, dude. I love it. I hope you'll come back on the show sometime. We need to probably talk.
I would love that.
We need to talk a little bit more about being a dad, but sometimes we get to going on music, and it's hard to stop. But Smith Curry, everybody, smithcurry.com is the website. Anywhere else that you want to send people to find you, Smith?
Well, come to the website because I do a lot of remote recording for people. Say you need pedal steel or dobro or any of those instruments on your recordings. I do tons of that from my place. And then I've been putting together slam sessions just about every week where people either come in with their music and we record it, or people email me songs and I record them. And it's pretty reasonable, and you're getting like the badass, sick A-list session players to play on your stuff, which
I love
the
it.
rest of the world can't really get that. So
Yeah,
that's
that's actually how we met. Is somebody was telling me that you do their demos, and then I looked you up, and I'm like, wait, he's a dad, and then I started following you everywhere. So I'm glad we got to meet up, man. I'll holler at you next time I'm in Nashville, and
oh man, I would love that.
yeah, man. And so Smith Curry, everybody, and this you guys been listening to the Rockstar Dad Show. Hang out for just a second, Smith, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And we will see you guys. Gary, hey, what a good episode.
Yeah.
We did a really good job.
Oh, it went like there for a second on me.
We'll see you next week. You guys be good and take care of yourself.
This is a song for my friends Jaret and Gary. They started a podcast and said a theme was necessary. They're just a couple of guys in a band that you know, some rockstar dads who started a show. Until the next episode.